So this talk will cover the Solarpunk principles, best practices, or rather applications in energy, mobility, urban planning, and circular economy. So, what is Solarpunk? In a nutshell, Solarpunk envisions a sustainable and optimistic, hopeful future. It is inclusive, it is regenerative, it's nature integrated, it's people-centered, and it's beautiful. Maybe some of you guys have already seen some pictures of Solarpunk and its aesthetics, so it's also very appealing. Wow, isn't that great? So within all the crises, within all the dystopian stuff and everything going around amongst us, this is really great news. This is something positive. There's a positive future in store for us. And it's real. So this is a picture of the gardens by the bay in Singapore. You can see there the so-called super trees. And these are not only very appealing in the sense that you can see the greenery growing up, very lush greenery, but they are using those trees to capture rainwater that is fed back into the garden itself. This is real, this is happening. So here in a nutshell, you can see the core principles of Solarpunk, and I'm going to take you through each one. I'm starting with the optimism. So Solarpunk is hopeful and optimistic. We've got a better future for us in store. So the second one is fairness. It is inclusion, justice, and equity. So it's also about people and treating the people, all of the people, globally, not only certain people, in the same way. Then it's about decentralization, and I think this conference also has a lot of aspects on decentralization. And also in the Solarpunk vision, Solarpunk is seeking localized and community-based solutions. It's again about the people, the community. It's also grassroots movements. And this combined is of an advantage to have decentralized, community-based solutions. As opposed to dystopian visions, where, let's take for example cyberpunk, technology is something evil and they are the baddies and the bad big companies and humans are exploited. Solarpunk is embracing technology to help implement the vision. So this can be really high-end rocket science stuff, but it can also be some plain technology. And this is why I also chose to have this picture. This is a trivial, so to speak, energy distribution point. But now, as we are amongst the energy transition, the grid, the distribution of electricity is vital. So it's all kind of technology. And of course, sustainability is key. This picture shows the roof of the Milan Trade Fair. And they put on a lot of solar panels. This is now the biggest solar photovoltaic system in Italy. Sustainability. This is reducing the environmental impact and slowing down climate change. And last but not least, biodiversity and the coexistence with nature. So Solarpunks are in for nature and biodiversity. So we are trying to live with nature, not against it. Now, in this section, I'm going to introduce and give you examples of Solarpunk, kind of applications that are already out there. And these will cover energy, mobility, urban planning, and circular economy. So here, This is energy. As I said, we are now amongst a huge energy transition. Things are changing due to the global dynamics that we live in, and solar energy, and I'm talking now here mainly about the photovoltaic solar energy, they are now kicking in a sense that solar panels have become inexpensive. You can implement them very quickly. You do not have a 7 years lead time for a gas turbine or a 10+ lead time for a, God forbid, little nuclear power plant. You can just flap it out. And this one here, I personally love very much. This is balcony solar, which is really big in Germany, for example, but now also in other countries. This is the embodiment of Solarpunk because you can tick a lot of those principles that I showed on the nutshell slide with that one. You can afford it. In Germany, you can get this at a DIY place, 2 panels, 800 watt, for 200 euros, including the inverter. You can hang it up onto your own balcony, and you can profit from it. You are no more a consumer from big utility companies. You have become a prosumer because you're producing the energy as well. So, and then, of course, there are other renewable energy sources like wind turbines, water, hydroelectric power plants, geothermal, biogas, and heat pumps. And heat pumps, it's more the effectiveness of the heat pumps. So you put in 1 unit of electricity, and you can get 3 to 4 units of heat out of the system, out of the air. Now we come to mobility. How is the change in mobility going forward? This is also in our hands. We can choose what we want to do. So, do we use public transport? Do we do carpooling? Maybe we can just take the bicycle and go to a bakery, or we walk. And what is also paramount is the electrification. Further and further, a lot of trains are already running electrically. But we need to also have cars, electric vehicles, EVs, that are running electrically, because that electricity can be harnessed from renewable resources. Okay, now urban planning. This is also the next practice, or the next application example, the next best practice. Urban planning, and this is not exhaustive. These are just some examples that I personally picked. The municipality or the governments can promote or enforce that co-housing apartments are being built. Or they can say, like in Barcelona, superblocks, that the traffic amongst the big apartment buildings is being shut down and limited, and you can only walk there, or delivery services and ambulances are allowed, but other than that, it's being left outside of the superblock, the big traffic. The town, the city, they can say, okay, I want to build more cycle lanes. So this is not rocket science again, this is plain straightforward stuff. Then blue-green systems. You can see here on this slide, this is a sponge city element. It's a so-called bioswale, which is a basin that is collecting rainwater. And this is being soaked up by the soil and can give back this water that comes from the sky back into the trees. And what is also good, when blue meets green, so water meets greenery, you have biodiversity. We noticed that wild pumpkins started to grow there. Nobody had sown them, so this is really amazing. Okay, now I dive into the next application of Solarpunk, and that would be on circular economy systems. So every resource has a next life, whether it is reuse, repair, recycle, recover, or regenerate. It can be urban farming. It can be repair, reuse hubs or cafes. It can be water systems that are already touched base on. Or no-brainer, composting, so you're getting the nutrients back. It's recovery of nutrients, energy recovery with having district heating, material recycling. I think all you guys know all the recycling of glass, of paper, of aluminum cans, etc. And also urban mining, where I will do a deep dive later on. Okay, why is it so important to have circular economy? So it reduces waste and emissions. It extends life cycles. You have less reliance on finite inputs, yeah, like fossil finite inputs, or the metals that had been dug out of the soil, because you can recycle metals. And it decreases pressure on the natural systems. So the take, make, and waste, put it into a bin, put it onto a dump hill, this mentality and approach is turning into regenerative cycles. The waste becomes a strategic resource and a value. It's a value chain you are creating, localized in a city, for example, and yes, as I just mentioned, it builds resilient and future-ready cities. So here, the deep dive on the urban mining. You collect the material from buildings, for example, old metal from buildings, electronic waste, the printed wiring boards from mobiles, computers, etc., and other urban waste streams. You sort them out, you process them. You can have thermal, mechanical, or chemical procedures where you can take out the gold or the silver from the printed wiring boards. You reintegrate them into new products and construction, so you can build then also new buildings with them. And you can refine material to industry-grade quality. Aluminium is a good example. You can recycle this very, very well and get good aluminium again, and you can make a can out of aluminium then, once more. This is a closed-loop system from waste to resource and from resource to value. So since we are here at an Ethereum conference, we were also discussing in the Solarpunk Cities team, okay, what impulses, what ideas can we give to you guys who are more into that topic? What could be done? And we were thinking that maybe tokenized circular resource systems would fly quite well, because you can encourage people to recycle and reuse token-based awards. You can also track the life cycle of a certain material and give the material its own passport. And you can increase the transparency on supply chains and secondary material flows. So this is the potential or the idea that we have got for you guys. It's turning waste into value by making circular and closed-loop systems visible, traceable, scalable, and economically viable. Here, this is the conclusion. This is the Solarpunk journey, and this is also the final slide here. We are coming from the past, where growth relied on fossil fuels, linear economies, global supply chains, resource depletion, unfortunately, and environmental degradation. Now we are in this big change of the energy transition. Global dynamics accelerate this transition towards renewable energy, foster decentralization and localized circular economies. It empowers citizens to become active participants. And, oh, sorry. No, I'm tall enough. So here are 290 euros. This was end of March at the DIY place in Germany. And as I mentioned, 2 modules, 800 watt, including an inverter, has now come down to 199 euros. So you don't need to be rich to have your own balcony solar system and become a prosumer. And the journey that we are seeing, the application of Solarpunk by 2050, 2/3 of humanity will live in cities. That's quite a bit. Making them key places where sustainable, regenerative, and optimistic futures can be realized, and hopefully a lot of Solarpunk ideas can be implemented. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for a wonderful talk. I have plenty of questions. It was very exciting.
Good.
Anyone have questions? Sorry, let me move away from the QR code so you can scan it. Yes, please.
In Germany in terms of startups. Oh, hi, yeah. Thank you. There are several projects that are Solarpunk in the Ethereum ecosystem, but we're very curious about the German startup ecosystem and if there are any programs, European funding, that are encouraging this direction.
Yeah, so there are already Solarpunk principles implemented even before the phrase or the movement Solarpunk was coined. For example, in the city of Freiburg, where they have enforced laws where you are encouraged or you have to have highly insulated houses. They are encouraging solar panels, and they have a lot of cycle lanes. So Freiburg in the southwestern part of Germany, they're full of cyclists. And this is, for example, a city which you can also find on our page, where a lot of those principles have already been integrated. So, and then the examples I gave you from Nuremberg, this biosphere, yeah. So the city of Nuremberg has decided to take an old cargo train area and converted it into apartment blocks that are being built, not only for privileged people, rich people, but also for people who need to be supported by the state or the city of Nuremberg to live there. And they have introduced, for example, a nice big park, again with a bioswale, than the one that I've shown you. So there are people that are really already thinking green and also in a Solarpunk way, and they start to implement it because it's a payback for them. It's also about the livability.
Thank you so much. And a fantastic question as well. Thank you. Any other questions? Yes, sir.
Hello, thank you for the very motivating talk. My question was a little bit about the kind of value shift and potentially educational shift that the public might have to undergo to kind of embrace this kind of thing. Yeah. You talked a little bit there about civic participation and the like, but I just wonder, given that over decades now, since the era of like mass consumption, we've been trained psychologically to be in this kind of use it and then throw it away mentality. And I wonder if some of the shifts that you're talking about here, do they require a value shift as well amongst ordinary people, or is it just a matter of implementing these kind of more structural changes, the circular economy comes into place and everything's just in this circle, or do we also have to kind of level up ourselves in an education sense?
Thanks for your question. So it's a top-down and bottom-up approach. There's a lot of things that you guys and I have in our hands to change, and also our behavior, and also thinking about the values that maybe we followed in the past, and then thinking, okay, I'm not throwing up, of course not, I'm not throwing over the aluminum can onto the dump hill, but I want to recycle it, I bring it back. But it's also about education. It's in particular important for the younger generation to understand all the correlations. And to give you an example again on Germany, on the schools, there was a year where the students got Solarpunk as a topic. And they got even a little booklet with Solarpunk short stories. And I was really touched about this. I didn't know that. So I was touched about it, that also the governments and the cultural ministries and so forth are picking up on those topics. So this is very good.
Yeah, I think this is a superb question anthropologically as well. Like, how do we stop this being like a political, preachy topic, and how do we actually make people embrace it because they want to, right? So this is awesome, and I've got so many more questions on this as well. Thank you. Any other questions, ladies and gentlemen? We've got space for one more. Yes, sir. The microphone is making its way onto you. Thank you.
Thank you for the presentation. Are you aware of regenerative finance principles and maybe organizations, decentralized organizations who are helping communities to follow these kind of principles?
You're talking about the financing, that people are able to follow the principles.
Yeah, regenerative finance, like basically they teach people how to include different factors in their economic business models that follow this kind of principles, like Solarpunk principles. Like you have ReFi DAO or...
Yes, I mean, this is a little bit related to the slide on encouraging people to, with this tokenized approach. So I'm not seeing it right now. Of course, again, there are in some countries deposit systems where you are throwing your water bottle, the empty one or the aluminum can into the machine and you get a deposit of 25 cents back. This is very, very straightforward, yeah? But you're right, I think this should be enhanced more, that the people are incentivized to better follow those ideas.
Yeah,
and be empowered, yeah.
Absolutely. It's really interesting. There was research done recently that there's this erosion of the social contract, that people don't feel that they have to do something for the future generations anymore, that they just want to do it now and for themselves. So I think we're seeing an interesting development in that area as well. We'll see what happens, but good question as well. Yeah, we've got time for one more. Why not? As long as it's a question, not like, more of a comment. That'd be good. Thank you.
Thank you for the talk. I think like imagination and building visions is important, but I also have seen many, many initiatives that have followed these visions, and where it fails at the end is like very pragmatic and very human dynamics driven things. So how do you see small grassroots groups or also bigger projects overcoming the issues of human dynamics, of funding, of collaboration? I think those are some of the hinging points where I see the many initiatives falling short.
Yeah, I mean, this is a really demanding and difficult question, because this is happening with a lot of projects, whether they are Solarpunk related or not. I think you need to have people identify themselves with the project more, so that they are really on board, like all hands on board, that they are really believing in it. And it's also with other projects, it's okay to fail, and sometimes there was a slogan in the past, fail quickly, yeah, fail fast. It is okay to fail if you learn from it. And this Solarpunk vision or application going forward, this will be hard work. It's not easy, it's not coming from above. Yeah, it's not that people wake up in the morning that, oh, I need to become now a Solarpunk or something. So this is very demanding, and I think people need to identify if you can come into a community where it's also, and Solarpunk doesn't really prescribe stuff. Also people who are then saying, yeah, but I'm not okay with that. You need to listen to the people. I think this very high level is an approach that is viable in order to make then long-term the project successful. And I think there are, in particular in the European Union, a lot of projects that are financially, getting back to your finance aspect, are also promoted by budget from the European Union or the individual countries. At least I see this in Germany. I cannot talk about Czechia, but yeah.
In Czechia, most of that gets embezzled, I'm afraid, but thank you so much.
Yes.
Thank you also for the wonderful questions. Keep them coming. Dr. Bianca Buchold,
Yeah,
thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Round of applause.
Thank you. Thank you. Thanks.